A year ago, I had no idea what I was getting into, just a fascination with bees, a brand new bee suit, and a dream to start something special, the honey herd apiary. Since then, I've made loads of mistakes. I've learned some valuable lessons, been stung more than once, and fallen absolutely and completely in love with beekeeping. This is my first year as a beekeeper. The highs, the lows, the lessons, and what's next for the honey herd. Now, I first decided to keep bees after a lot of conversations with a guy who used to deliver his incredible local honey to my restaurant. Every time he dropped off a few jars, we'd end up talking about bees, how they work, the seasons and the challenges. He completely sparked my curiosity and would later become my mentor. At first, I did what most people do when they get an idea stuck in their head. I went straight to YouTube. Much to my partner's dismay, I spent hours watching videos, learning about hives, queens, beekeeping methods, and beekeepers who make it look far too easy. As my interest grew, I started listening to audiobooks, reading blogs, and diving deeper into the world of bees. This went on for months until one day I said, yes, okay, I'm going to do this. Unfortunately, however, I made this decision in late September. Not exactly the ideal time to start beekeeping. The season was over, no open days, no mentors. So this was going to be a complete and total leap of faith. In true Paul fashion, I jumped in two-footed, completely committed, without thinking too much about the small details. Like the fact I'd never been stung before, so I didn't know if I was allergic. And also, the fact I already had a full-time job and a young family. Would I even have the time? Honestly, this could have been a very short adventure. I managed to secure a perfect little patch of land from a family member. It was a quiet corner of a field surrounded by woodland and farmland. It was just a 20-minute drive from my home or restaurant. I thought I'd hit the jackpot, and I think I did. So I started spending money. Hives, I decided on Langstroth. Bee suit, smoker, various tools, feeders. The list kept growing and so did the price tag. I remember thinking, I really hope this goes well, and laughing to myself. And that's how the honey herd began, with curiosity, a lot of enthusiasm, and absolutely no idea what I was in for. Once spring arrived, more specifically, the 20th of April, everything suddenly became real. The hives were built, the gear was ready, and it was time to meet my first colonies. So I jumped in the car and I drove down to meet Lawrence at Black Mountain Honey, about an hour or so away. After watching so many of his videos, it felt a little surreal meeting him in person, like catching up with an old mate, except he had never seen me before in his life. Lawrence was absolutely awesome, very helpful, and he made sure I had everything I needed before double checking, at my request, that the bees could definitely not get out. He then loaded the bees into the back of my 2014 Ford Focus. It's a strange feeling having 40,000 bees in the back seat of your family saloon. And the thought of what could happen if they got out did cross my mind more than once. Before I knew it, I was on my way back to Anglesey, air conditioning on full blast, windows up, heading home with my first colonies. Obviously checking back every so often to reassure myself they weren't breaking out. On arriving back, I put on my bee suit properly for the first time with a purpose, other than just checking if it fit. Placed the bees in their new spots and opened the entrances. My heart was racing, the adrenaline was unreal, and the anticipation, well, it was almost unbearable. A few bees came zooming over to check me out, buzzed around me for a minute as if telling me off for hitting too many bumps on their journey back, and then just drifted back in. I considered that a warning. I wasn't a beekeeper yet, more of a bee haver, but this was a start, and it felt good. The next day, I transferred them into their full-size hives. I remember taking my antihistamine tablets before opening that first box. Heart pounding, smoker in hand, and thousands of bees pouring out to greet me. The smell of wax and smoke in the air, wow, what an incredible day. This was my first ever time handling live bees and inspecting the frames. I carefully transferred the frames one by one, trying to keep my nerves under control and not shake too much. I don't think the bees would have appreciated that. I do think, however, that was the moment the honey herd truly began, and I knew I was really going to enjoy this. Of course, it wasn't too long before I got my first sting. I think it took about 4 weeks to come. I'd love to say I took it like a pro, but the truth is, I had no choice. I was mid-inspection, holding a frame full of bees, when I suddenly felt that sharp burn on my finger. I couldn't jump or flinch. I just froze for a second, trying to keep calm, and then gently placed the frame back into the hive, while this little bee was doing little breakdancing spins on my finger, trying to dislodge itself. To be honest, I'm still amazed that frame didn't hit the floor in a flash. I was really glad to get that first sting out of the way, and even more relieved to finally find out I wasn't allergic to bee venom. It was a pretty intense 20 minutes waiting to find out if anything would happen though. Once that first sting happens, you kind of relax a bit. You realise it's not that bad, and it almost feels like a weird rite of passage, like the bees officially welcoming you to the club. As the weeks went by, the bees grew stronger and I started to feel more confident. Then, a couple of months later, I got the call from a family member. A swarm had landed in a nearby tree. The rush of grabbing my gear and racing over there, pure adrenaline. I'd watched so many videos of people catching swarms from low branches. They made it look so easy, and I thought it would be, until I was standing under one myself, trying not to panic. Of course, the bees could have made my life easier by flying into one of my many bait hives, which I'd set up all around the apiary. But no, they decided to make me work for it. Still, seeing that swarm safely boxed up and realising I'd just caught my first wild colony, that's something I'll never forget. After those early weeks of confusion, things started to click. I began to understand, at least to a degree, the rhythm of the hives, their moods, their sounds, their warnings. For the first time, it felt like I was working with them and not against them. Beekeeping really grounds you, it slows you down, and for me, I find it almost therapeutic. A way of shutting everything else out that's going on in life. When I'm working with the bees, the only thing I think about is the bees. It's a break from the real world in a way. When you get into beekeeping, you start noticing things you never really thought too much about before. You start noticing the weather, the flowers, and the seasons. Though I do now have a bad habit of scanning the hedgerows for forage while driving. probably not the safest activity. Of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. I made plenty of mistakes, most of them from inexperience and, unfortunately, impatience. Opening hives when I shouldn't have, rushing through inspections, overthinking everything. But every mistake came with a lesson, and slowly, those lessons began to stick. Here's some tips if you're thinking about starting beekeeping. If you're thinking about starting your own journey into beekeeping, here are a few things you should consider before taking the plunge. These are some of the things I wish someone had told me right from the start. Speak to your local beekeeping association and go on an introduction course. Beginner's Day is one of the best things you can do before buying anything. You get a real hands-on experience around open hives, lifting frames, seeing brood, feeling the energy of a colony for the first time. It's something I never got to experience before my beekeeping journey, but I highly recommend you do. And here's the truth. You will drop a frame, you will squish bees, and you will panic, at least once, and that's completely normal. And getting those moments out of the way with experienced beekeepers beside you, that's going to make a huge difference. 2. Be honest about the kind of beekeeper that you want to be. 2 hives or 10. Hands-on or just mostly observing. If you choose to be a hands-on beekeeper, once swarm season kicks off, the bees will take up time. It's worth speaking to your family and making sure everyone's on the same page. 3. Think carefully about where you're going to keep your bees. Bees at home are great until they get a little bit spicy. If you're thinking bigger, speak to a farmer or landowner. Look for somewhere with good forage, hedgerows, wildflowers, fields and woodland. Finding the right environment will really set your bees up to thrive. 4. Choose your equipment and stick to it. Don't mix and match. Pick a hive system and commit to it. Mixing types becomes a nightmare later. And remember, the bees can actually be quite cheap, especially if you catch a swarm or get some from a friend. But the boxes, frames, stands, suits, tools, feeds, and the treatment, etc., that's what all adds up. Choosing one hive type saves you money, hassle, and a lot of stress. 5. Do your research from more than one place. YouTube, books, blogs, courses, they're all brilliant, but every beekeeper works differently. Different climates, different forage, different bees, different answers. Get your information from multiple sources, then figure out what works for you and your bees. Now, I didn't make any honey in my first year, not a drop for myself. I left it all in the hives with the bees. In beekeeping, they say you can make honey or make bees, and I definitely made bees. I started the season with 2 colonies and I ended the season with 7. Watching them grow and thrive felt every bit as rewarding as a honey harvest. Well, so I like to tell myself anyway. As the season came to an end, I found myself feeling a little bit down, knowing I wouldn't see my bees again till the next spring. It's strange, I started this wondering if beekeeping would be right for me, but it didn't take long for it to get right under my skin. The good news is, the bees are looking really strong going into winter. Each colony has a solid queen, low mite counts, and plenty of food. I've even weighed the hives and they're sitting at a healthy weight, ready for the cold months ahead. Even with everything I've learned this season, the truth is, the more I learn, the more I realise how little I actually know. Every time I think I got something figured out, the bees remind me there's still so much more to understand. Still very much at the beginning of this journey. I'm certainly no expert, just someone trying to learn improve, and hopefully become a better beekeeper with each season. What's the biggest lesson I learned this year? Maybe let go. The bees know what they're doing. My job is to give them the best chance to thrive and stay out of their way when I need to. And that is not as easy as it sounds. I also want to say thank you to everyone who's helped, supported, or simply watched along this year. From the professionals like Kerry at Bangor Apiaries, and to every other beekeeper who offered me advice and encouragement. Beekeeping might seem solitary, but it's built on a community of great people who are genuinely happy to help you. And of course, they're always happy to chat bees. Next season, I'm planning to expand the honey herd. 2 new apiary sites, more colonies, and maybe even my first honey harvest. Another thing I'm excited to try is raising my own queens. Something I really wanted to do this year but never quite got round to it. Next year that's happening. I'd love to raise strong, locally adapted queens right here in Anglesey. To everyone who's been part of the honey herd so far, a genuine thank you. This is just the beginning, and I can't wait to take you along for season 2. Until then, take care, look after yourselves and your bees, and I'll see you in spring. If you're thinking about getting into beekeeping, be careful though. Beekeeping is addictive. Once it gets you, that's it. You're hooked.